Good evening, everybody. You are watching a special On the Rocks Total Entertainment. Tonight, I have a special guest. I have Chris Czynszak from Podcast Fest. So it should be a really amazing interview, and I think he's about to come on. So let's see. Hi, Chris. Turn your mic on. Let's turn your mic on. Are you there, Chris? We're just going to wait for Chris to turn his mic on. So, how's everybody doing this weekend? What's going on? It's my birthday weekend. Hi,
Hey,
Chris.
hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You can turn it up just a little bit.
Okay. How's that? Is that better?
That's perfect.
Okay, great. Great to
So,
meet you.
welcome to On the Rocks, Total Entertainment, right here coming to you from Las Vegas. It's an honor to have you on the show.
Oh, it's an honor to be on your show. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, let's talk about Rockin' Podfest. Now, you started this dream of yours in 2017, is that correct?
Yeah, basically how it got started was I started doing rock podcasting back in 2011 with my show Decibel Geek. And a lot of over the years, a lot of us would do these at the time it was Skype mostly because Zoom wasn't much of a thing then.
Right?
We would do these conversations and we would have all these great times, and then it'd be like, man, I'd love to go out for a beer with you, but I can't do it because you're 600 miles away. So one of my friends, BJ Cramp, who does a great show called Rock and or Roll, came up with an idea. It was like we should organize some kind of a meetup for a bunch of us. And it was going to start small. And I was like, well, how are we going to pay for it? And he's like, well, we could
Right.
crowd fund it. And I was like, okay, if we crowd fund it and our listeners are paying for us to meet each other, they should get to come hang out too. And if they're gonna hang out too, they should do more than look at a bunch of middle aged podcasters talk to each other. So,
Right.
um, so then as you probably know, a lot of the '80s rock guys ended up moving out here to Nashville, so it just made sense to do it here. So I had interviewed several of them over the years, so I just started calling in favors, going, "Hey, would you come to something like this and meet up and do some interviews and maybe
Right.
meet some fans?" And then I got vinyl vendors on board, and it just organically turned into a convention, and it's just grown and grown year over year ever since.
Yeah, I mean, this year your pod Rockin' Podfest is, I mean, amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Um, the guests you're gonna have there, I mean, unbelievable. The talent.
Yeah, it's been really gratifying to see how many artists end up being interested in coming every year, because the first couple of years it was kind of hard to describe what it was, because a lot of them were like, well, is it like a Comic-Con or is it like a trade show? And I'm like, well, it's kind of both. It's like it's a place for fans to meet up with the artists get to meet up with the fans, and then the podcasters get content from the artists, and the artists kind of get to do like a 1 day junket to promote whatever they have going on. And then I noticed by year two, a lot of the artists were thanking me for putting it on, because the podcasts, as you probably know, and also, and it's more than just podcasts now, because content creation comes from YouTube, it comes from all these different places. But that, like, we've just sort of by accident, because we love the music, became a legitimate promotional arm for a lot of these artists, because as you know, mainstream radio pretty much doesn't do much with rock anymore.
Right. Well, yeah, that's great because I mean, uh, when the pandemic happened, these bands were forced to deal with Zoom, with social media, and with writing via Zoom. And I think it's changed the narrative on how these bands promote themselves.
Mhm.
And I think that was the one good thing that came out of it, because because I was interviewing a lot of these bands during pandemic,
Mhm.
and they actually were used to being collectively in a group. Well, they were finally meeting people online. Hey, I got this idea for a song. Hey, are you available for a jam? I mean, I think, coming out of this, the artists are really creative now.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that we just did our best of 2022 episode on my show, and it's just like, God, this, you got to think most of this stuff was probably written during the lockdown, and we kind of predicted it. We're like, we're gonna get some great albums that are gonna come out of this, and yeah, and also like you mentioned, a lot of them got kind of more hip to the podcasting and content, curation thing with, even one of the guests I have, Jason McMaster, him and his co-host, they do a show called Talk Louder. It's a great YouTube podcast, and they're going to come and do their show live at the event. So it's way easier to explain the event and podcasting now than it was when we started.
Right, because podcasting was like almost like kind of almost underground, because a
Mhm.
lot of people didn't know how to embrace it in the business, you know? And God, I think it's so amazing that collectively we've all come together to promote rock and roll. I mean, it's really amazing what you're doing, Chris.
Oh, thank you. Well, I kind of liken it to, I mean, I grew up in the 80s, so I mean, like back then you would have, fanzines where fans would put together fan magazines for artists and stuff, and that was very underground, but it was also grassroots. And I mean, yeah, we did have our metal edge, we had our hit parader and stuff like that, but no, it's basically the same type of coverage is still out there. It's just takes on different forms. But I like it the most today because the fans kind of get to be hands on and get involved. So, I mean, I'm sure you've gotten to interview plenty of heroes that you never would have expected to get
Oh
to talk
yeah.
to growing up.
I mean, it's pretty amazing. And you're you work with Ron Keel in this every year, right? Is that correct?
Ron's been at most of them. A couple times he's had to miss it due to touring commitments and stuff. But yeah, he's I kind of jokingly call him the mayor of Rock and Pod, because you will know when Ron is at the event, because Ron he's got a great big personality, but he really believes in what I'm doing with this. And when I launched it, and like he came in 2018 for the first time, and that was just the second year. And he does his own radio show, his own podcast. he I wish more people would use Ron as a template for what an artist can do to interact with their fans. And so he gets it, and he gets where we're coming from. That's why him, going full bore with the Keel Fest 2 thing this year to tie in with Rockin' Pod just made too much sense not to do. So we're excited to have him and all the artists that are coming to be a part of that. So I mean, I basically get them for the expo, and then they get to do a great show after the thing, and it's just some good synergy between the two things.
Yeah, Ron Keel. I know Ron Keel personally, and he just signed a band that I'm friends with, Crashing Wayward, to
Yeah.
RFK Media, and just amazing.
Mhm.
He's such a nice guy.
Yeah, and we're excited to have Crashing Wayward play at Keel Fest 2 in Nashville. It's gonna be their first time playing here. Also, the Fifth, another one of their great bands on the
Yeah,
label.
the Fifth is such an amazing band. I mean, it's a showcase for the latest and greatest out there. And
Mhm.
yeah, so cool.
Yeah, and I mean, like I've told, some of these guys come up and thank me about it. I'm like, I grew up watching you guys on MTV. I mean, even with the Fifth, Roy Cathy was in Cold Sweat, and I was into those guys back in the day. So, and then of course Stacy Blades is part of Crashing Wayward. So I've been following his career for years. But no, but I love those two bands too, because they're doing, yeah, them from past bands, but they're doing something on their own that's fresh and different, and I think relates also to a younger market, not just us old rock people.
Right, right. Even though we don't want to admit that, but you
Yeah.
know, but yeah, Crashing Wayward, I've been working with them, promoting them for the probably the past 2 years.
Mhm.
I actually interviewed them right when they were becoming a band, when I was co-host on Keep Rock Alive. And there, from that day on, I think I was friends with David Harris, Stacy David Blades, Carl Rather, Sean McCune,
Mhm.
uh, Pete Summit. I mean, they're such an amazing dynamic band. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm so proud to call them my friends.
Yeah, and Pete Summit's voice. Wow. I mean, that dude can really sing.
Yeah, it's just so amazing. Well, Chris, tell me a little bit about how your rock and roll dream got started.
Oh wow, we're going way back on this. Yeah, I guess like most little kids, pop music is kind of what opens the door for you on getting into music in general. So of course I loved the Michael Jackson and the Cyndi Lauper and all that stuff when I was really little. But then I was MTV, like a lot of kids, turned me on to a lot of stuff I never would have expected. So I like to think the door opening on hard rock. I mean, obviously my parents would play Beatles and Stones and stuff like that around the house, and it was just sort of in the ether of my environment. But with MTV, when I started, we were one of the few families on my block to get MTV from the very early days. So I remember seeing "Come On Feel the Noise" by Quiet Riot. That I remember that song really stuck in my head as a kid. And then the Twisted Sister videos, with all the comedy in
Right?
them. So, and you couldn't help but be mesmerized by the look of those guys in those videos. And then, of course, big anthemic rock and roll music. It's just, it'll hook a little kid. It's tailor made for children. So, that kind of opened the door. And then at that point, it was all the hair bands, it was Rat, Poison. Um, and then I got in, Kiss became my favorite band mostly
Of
because,
course, I'm wearing a Kiss shirt
there
just
you
for you,
go.
Chris.
Yeah. So in 87, or yeah, I guess it was 87. I was and I'm one of the few straight males that will admit that I love power ballads. I always have. For some reason, I just like them. Kiss put out the power ballad "Reason to Live" from the Crazy Nights album, and the video would get spun a lot on MTV. And at the time, I was really big into Poison and those band and even Bon Jovi. And I was remember thinking, wow, this is really good. I like this. And my older brother walked in and he was like, Kiss? I was like, yeah. He's like, that's not really Kiss though. And then he gave me his vinyl copy of Alive. And I mean, I liked what I heard on Crazy Nights, but then I started spinning Alive. And for some reason, it was when I got to Cold Gin on side 2 of the second album and the whole intro about vodka and orange juice and everything. And
Right?
then the riff and the drumming kicks in. I still can remember like being in my bedroom listening to that on a turntable and just being immediately just hooked on Kiss. And from that point on, but it was a great time to become a fan because I had all the non-makeup stuff I got into, but then I could go back and discover all the early stuff too. So to me, they were like the ultimate band because you had all these different eras of them, and it was just such a pleasure to get into them.
Right. I mean, my first Kiss record was Love Gun.
Nice.
And I actually have one of the rarest copies you can get. It's like one of the first pressings, and it actually has the paper Love Gun
Nice.
in the record.
That's cool.
So yeah, that's like one of my prize collection albums.
Yeah, yeah, Kiss, another great band for kids. There's all these extra toys and cool things, fake tattoos and Alive
Right?
too and all that stuff. Yeah, I've got a copy of Alive too with the fake tattoos, the booklet and everything. And like it's one of
That's
my prized
great.
possessions. Yeah,
Yeah,
I love
keep
that
that
stuff.
because that those things don't happen anymore.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
absolutely.
Even with them going, these artists going back to vinyl.
Hmm.
I noticed they're doing a lot of colored vinyl. What do you think about that, Chris? They're bringing that back from the 80s.
If it's something I don't already have in my collection, I might spring for the colored vinyl stuff. But I mean, with my Kiss records, I've got all the old original pressings, so I don't really feel a need to buy a blue version of this or a yellow
Right.
version of that. I have it behind me here. I've got I did spring for the super deluxe Creatures of the Night box set. I
Okay.
did buy that. It's rare that I'll spend that kind of money on a record, but that album means a lot to me. So, and it's got so many cool goodies and extras in it that I couldn't pass it up.
Yeah, I mean, I've been a Kiss fan for forever since the beginning. Uh, that band has come a long way, decades.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd never even when I was a fan in '87, like all my friends were like, "Oh, that's an old band. Those are old guys." And I'm thinking I never would have expected in 2023 they'd still be around, you know.
Right. Look at Keith Richards. Okay.
Yeah.
That guy
Yeah.
is still around. I'm like,
Yeah, I'm convinced he's going to outlive it,
probably. You never know.
right?
But so this is this event for you, Chris. It is a annual event,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, obviously didn't get to do 2020 because of COVID.
Yeah.
There was just no way to make it work. And then 2021 was a challenge because we were coming off of COVID. I did take 2022 off because my youngest kid was in graduating high school, and I had some family stuff I wanted to attend to, and that's when we typically would do it in August, and that's when I was like, well, if I'm taking 2022 off, I don't want to make people wait all the way till the next August to do it. So let's try it in the spring and give that a shot, because there's always people that are like, I want to come, but I can't make it in August. And then we had a whole group of people that were like, oh, okay, now I can come now because you're doing it in March. So it well, I do have plenty of people coming back that have come in the past, but there's also a whole group of new people that come to it this
Right.
time.
And I noticed Eric Martin is going to be making an appearance.
Yeah, we have a lot going on with Eric. I'm actually, I think, tomorrow, as of this talk, we'll be announcing some stuff on Sunday with him that's going to be really really cool.
Yay.
Yeah, so
That's
he'll
great.
be doing a song or two at the pre-party concert on Friday. Then on Saturday, he's going to do the expo, and he'll do several interviews with content creators there. We're also going to have him do a live interview on stage in front of an audience, and then Sunday we have a cool thing going on with which I guess by now I can let the cat out of the bag on that. So what one thing we're doing is we did this last year. It's a show called Punchlines and Backlines, and it's put on by Courtney Cronin Dold, who's a great comedian, also Don Jameson from That Metal Show,
I know
and
Don.
yeah, and Craig Gass, who has done Howard Stern, Family Guy, tons of stuff. Um, it's going to be them doing stand up sets, but also punchlines and backlines means they also bring on a rock artist to do stand up comedy for the first time. And Eric
Oh,
will be
that's
doing stand up
great.
comedy at the show. And then after that, it's all one ticket. But after that, Eric and his bandmates Ben Hans and Mark Holly are going to do a full live acoustic set for the
Oh,
crowd.
that's great.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, Don Jameson is a friend of mine too. He's great.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Don, he came last year and did a great job. And another thing we're going to be doing with them on Sunday is we did this last year with those comedians. We did a Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park screening at a movie with them doing commentary. And this year we're going to do it again, but we're going to do Kiss Exposed, the home video from the
oh
80s.
yeah, that's gonna be great.
Yeah, I'm excited for that one too.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And this is all located in Nashville. I know you're
Mhm.
having the shows at Bowie's, and
Yeah.
there's a bowling alley
Hmm.
that you're having some of the shows at as well.
Yeah, Friday night for the Rare Hair show, the pre-party show, that's at a place called Eastside Bowl. And I don't know if you're familiar with like the Brooklyn Bowl chains, it's similar to that. It's got does have bowling lanes, but it's also got like a diner, it's got a private bar, it's got and a big music room in the back. It's a really cool venue. I've gone to some shows there, and it's pretty new here for Nashville. So that'll be Friday, and then Bowie's will be the site for Keel Fest on Saturday night. Bowie's is right in the heart of downtown. So
Right.
if you want to see the insanity of downtown Nashville on a Saturday night, there it is. That'll be there. And
Well,
then the
that's
thing,
that's just a great place to have it.
yeah, and it's real close. The fairgrounds where we're doing the expo out of on Saturday, it's just like a 5 minute drive away from downtown. So it's right there.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah, and then on Sunday, the place we're gonna do the Punchlines and Backlines show and the Eric Martin concert. This is a cool venue. We haven't worked with them before because they're kind of new, but the building is called the Vinyl Lab, and they actually manufacture vinyl records there for a lot of artists. Alice in Chains and several other artists have had records made there. But inside the building is a live music venue called the Vinyl Lounge, and that's where we're gonna do that show.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's absolutely amazing. I hope you're going to have a video crew filming all this.
I'm sure we will. I've had several people reach out that they want to do coverage of it. So yeah, the way we go getting back to Kiss, Kiss loves to always say we wanted to be the band that we never saw on stage. Well, I try to put on the convention that and events that I have never seen that I would want to go to.
Right. I mean, that's just like mind blowing. I mean, you really have this thing figured out, Chris.
Well, I got a great team of people that help me out with it every year. There's no way one person could do it. So, yeah, we have a huge volunteer staff, and then I've got several people, Tracy McAndrew and Andy Connors. They do sound and scheduling and stuff. And if you don't have the right people helping you get through it, then there's no way it works. But yeah, we do get praise every year for the attention to detail that we do with all this stuff.
Yeah, and Nashville is such a great hub for rock and roll. I mean,
Yep.
a lot of bands from Nashville have been reaching out to me, and
Mhm.
Nashville is really a great area for some new up and coming music.
Oh yeah, and there's some local rock bands that are going to be have exhibitor space at the expo. Like there's one. If you haven't checked them out, have you heard of Guillotine local
I think
band?
so, yeah.
So they do they kind of label themselves industrial, but don't let it scare you off because there's a lot of hooks in their music. But they've got like fire dancers and snakes and stuff on stage.
Yeah, they're
It's a
very
wild show.
visual.
Yeah, very visual. And then Lydia's Castle, another great rock band with this girl Tanya that sings just an amazing voice, and Don Wysocki, who used to drum for Stained, is their drummer. So
Okay.
they're taking off right now. But yeah, there's several great rock and roll bands in Nashville. I used to play in the local scene, and we didn't have it nearly as good as they have it these days.
Yeah, I mean, Vegas is really becoming, I think that I call it the California, the second coming,
Hmm.
because there's so many bands that are moving out here,
Yeah,
artists.
yeah.
And
It seems like for hard rock in particular, it's Nashville and Vegas have become the two hubs for that type of music.
yeah, I mean, you've got the whiskey in LA. That
Sure.
place, I don't think it's ever going to close. The Viper Room is closing, but they're reopening it under a different, yeah, it's just kind of
Mm.
weird.
Yeah. Now
But
I have hopes and dreams that we continue to do well with this, and eventually we can do one in Vegas in the future. I would
oh,
love to do
yeah,
that.
Chris, that
Yeah,
would be amazing.
yeah, because I mean it does mirror Nashville in the fact that a lot of the potential guests do live there. It would be a good place to do it. It's a tourist destination like Nashville, so yeah, that's something I would love to do in the future is do kind of a West Coast version and do it out in Vegas one of these days.
Yeah, I think that would be great because you're getting those West Coast people
Hmm.
that is, it's like an hour flight for them
Right.
or, a couple hours drive.
Yeah, I'd love to do it there. I think it would be fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you had it here, I think it would probably be the biggest one you've ever done.
That would be cool. Yeah, there's so many rock guys and the rock people that live out there. It seemed like there's already a built-in audience for something like that.
Oh yeah, because I mean, I just saw last night. That's just an example. Jesse James Dupree flew in
Mhm.
for a show with Jeff Blondo from Slaughter. It was called Music Mob, and Stephen Piercy came out and did some Rat songs. I mean, it was really super cool.
Nice. Well, that sounds like a fun show. And yeah, you guys have that Counts Vamped out there with
Yeah, that's where it
Danny
was.
Coker.
That's where it
Yeah,
was.
yeah. That place is very similar to some of the clubs we have here in Nashville. So it's like, yeah, if I ever get to Vegas, I want to go see a show at that place.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'll take you, Chris.
All right, it's a
That
date.
that place is amazing.
Very cool. Yeah, I've heard great things about it, and I always see, a lot of the artists I follow are playing there pretty regularly.
Yeah, I just did a lot of live footage last night, along
Nice.
with some pictures. So if you have time, check it out.
I will.
But yeah, it was a great show. Great
Very
show.
cool. Yeah, and then yeah, Nashville also we're spoiled with concerts these days now because like when I was growing up, it felt like everybody passed Nashville over, but now it's pretty much on every major tourism map these days. Which yeah, growing up here it was not like that for sure.
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine like thinking back to like the 80s? And there was only like a couple venues in your town
Oh yeah.
that you could see live music.
Yeah. And at the time I would watch Decline of Western Civilization Part 2 and dream of moving to the Sunset Strip and hanging out with all those people. and then half of them moved out here and they live here now. It's crazy.
I mean, it is crazy. And I was looking at your lineup. You have Mark Weiss coming.
Yes, we do. Yeah, I'm excited to meet him.
I am such a fan of Mark Weiss.
Yeah, well, I mean, he photographed our childhood, right? It was he so many legendary album covers and photo shoots, and yeah, I'm very excited to see him.
Yeah, he just came out with a book.
Yeah, the decade that rocked. He'll have copies there, and I think he's going to bring like a small gallery of stuff to put on display
Oh,
at the
wow.
event. So
Yeah, I
that'll
mean,
be a
I'm
lot
a
of fun.
rock photographer as well. And
Cool.
yeah, he was one of the guys I always looked up to. Like, oh, I wish I could be Mark Weiss. You
Yeah, well,
know,
yeah, he had the ultimate dream job if you're a rock fan for sure.
yeah, that's awesome that he's going to be attending your fest.
Yeah, very excited to have him, and he's excited to come to the event. And but yeah, that'll be his first time. You know, we have a good mix of returning guests and brand new ones this time.
That's awesome. Totally awesome. Well, I'm going to try to make it
Awesome. Well, I hope
to
you
there.
can.
I hope so. We'll have I have so many things going on right now. So we'll have to see logistically if it's going to make sense for me.
Okay.
But I hate to miss it.
Well, keep me posted. I hope we can have you out here.
Oh yeah, for sure. Um, well, in closing, Chris, I want to really thank you for coming on. I would love to have you on again, and we could talk more rock and roll.
Oh, always happy to come on. It's been a fun time talking to you tonight.
Yeah. And we'll set something up in the near future because I know between you and myself, I have a lot going on. So rock and roll, never sleeps.
No, but I always have time to talk about it though. No problem
Yeah,
with
for sure.
that.
Absolutely. Well, take care, Chris, and I will keep in touch.
All right, sounds good. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Wow, Chris is amazing. Rockin' Podfest in Nashville is going to be off the hook. So if you have a chance to definitely go to this fest, I mean, there's a long list of artists that are going to be at that event. Crashing Wayward is one of them. They're friends of mine. They are an amazing band. So if you haven't seen Crashing Wayward, definitely check them out on Spotify. Great talking to Chris. We'll be talking to him again soon. Great guy. He loves Kiss. I love this guy. Okay, so thank you for tuning in. This was a special show. Coming up in February, for the 5th of February, I have Mr. Justin Ross from Texas. He's a rock and blues guy. He loves rock and roll, so we're going to have fun talking to him as well. And February 12th, a special show with Faith in Failure. A great, great band. I've been wanting to talk to this band for quite some time. So I will look forward to that. So thank you for watching. Always like and subscribe. And I have a lot coming up. So definitely stay in tune with all my social media. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Okay? Thanks for watching, and we'll be checking in again soon.